Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, October 2nd. Hurricane Joaquin continues to churn over the western Atlantic, centered over the central Bahamas. It still is a Category 4 hurricane, sustained winds at about 130 miles per hour. It continues to look like the out-to-sea solution is the most likely solution here for the ultimate track of Joaquin. It should start to turn to the north later today, and then over the next 48 hours or so, turn to the northeast, pulling away from the coastline. However, all eyes along the east coast, all the way up through New England, should continue to closely monitor this situation. It is a dangerous hurricane. It comes fairly close to the coast, and it's not a 100% guarantee. Certainly, the computer forecast models are not in 100% agreement yet for the out-to-sea solution, but we believe that that is the most likely setup. Let's look at some of the players on the field by looking at the latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net. First of all, here's the circulation around Joaquin, virtually stationary the last 12 hours or so, moving just about 3 miles per hour to the northwest. Again, later on today, we expect that to start to turn to the north, ultimately to the northeast, away from the U.S. coastline. Another key player, there's another upper level trough here off to the east, kind of a weakening ridge to the north, and as that continues to weaken, the steering currents will change for Joaquin. This ridge will weaken, this trough will have kind of an increasing influence on Joaquin, and it should start to turn to the north later on today and into tonight. Now notice here along the east coast, strong flow of air out of the northeast up and down the east coast, basically a full-blown nor'easter for the next 24 to 36 hours, up and down the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. Persistent onshore winds, strong winds, and heavy rainfall. Perhaps as much as 3 or 4 inches of rain will fall over the next 24 to 36 hours south of the Mason-Dixon line, perhaps lesser amounts up towards New York City. Wind gusts of 50 miles per hour, quite likely at coastal locations, especially tonight, and basically through the day today into Saturday. It could have 50 mile per hour gusts at coastal locations, 35, perhaps even 40 mile per hour gusts at inland locations. All of that fueled by a tightening pressure gradient between low pressure to the south and strong high pressure to the north. Here's the very latest visible satellite image of the Atlantic Ocean from the Penn State EWOL site. A broad cloud pattern associated with Hurricane Joaquin. Again, latest report, Category 4, 130 mile per hour sustained winds. Not a real eye right at the moment. It doesn't necessarily mean the eye is gone permanently. It could be undergoing an eye wall replacement cycle. So there's the possibility that that eye wall could return later on this morning or by the afternoon. But right now it has kind of filled in. Again, a rather stationary system right now, but it should start to turn to the north and ultimately to the northeast away from the U.S. coastline over the next couple of days. Well, we showed this map yesterday. It's a collection of numerous computer forecast models and the track predicted by these models. And a couple of things to point out. First of all, the orange line here represents the European model forecast, and that for the past several days has had an out-to-sea solution. Seems to have the best handle on the ultimate track of Joaquin, continues to have an out-to-sea solution. And now, for the most part, the models, and this is kind of a consensus line right here, do favor this out-to-sea solution. But notice it's not unanimous. This red line here represents the Canadian model, and that still forecasts landfall over North Carolina, then kind of a loop around to right up along the east coast. So it's not unanimous. Certainly still warrants close attention up and down the east coast over the next several hours. But again, the odds favor this out-to-sea solution that was really led by the European model over the past few days. Speaking of the European model, one of the forecasting techniques now is called ensemble forecasting, where initial conditions fed into a computer forecast model vary slightly in numerous ways. So it results in what was called ensemble runs, and taking a look at the ensemble forecast runs can give a forecaster more confidence in the operational, or what's called the deterministic model run. And this is the ensemble forecast runs as far as the Joaquin track is concerned from the European model of last night, 0Z. And notice almost all these red lines, which represent the numerous ensemble cases with slightly differing initial conditions. Almost all of them now have an out to sea solution. Not completely unanimous, though. There are a couple of ensemble runs that still veer back in towards the Carolina coastline, but the fact that most of these ensemble runs agree with the deterministic or operational European model run with an out to sea solution gives the forecasting community quite a bit of confidence that this out to sea solution is the correct one. Well, let's take a look at last night's GFS model run coming from 0Z at the surface, and we'll walk through this. This is the forecast map from last night for this morning. A lot of a tight pressure gradient right here in the Mid-Atlantic region, as indicated here by these black lines. These represent isobars, lines of equal pressure. Very strong high pressure to the north, low pressure down to the south, an increasing or a tightening pressure gradient leading to strong winds. Again, potential of 50-mile-per-hour gusts, especially later today and tonight along coastal sections. 35, 40-mile-per-hour gusts out of the northeast at inland locations with rainfall. Some of the rain will be heavy, and there could be 3 or 4 inches of rain in some parts of the Mid-Atlantic region by later tomorrow, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line. Tends to be heavy rainfall south of the Mason-Dixon line, and lesser amounts up towards New York City, for example. Let's now walk through this particular forecast run. 6-hour increments. This is early this afternoon. And then by tonight, again, some heavy rain depicted here by the GFS model, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line. Let's keep walking through. This is now the forecast map for tomorrow morning. Again, very strong high pressure to the north, a persistent onshore flow of air. Beach erosion is likely along coastal sections of New Jersey and the Delmarva Peninsula. Just a long-lasting period of onshore flow. Let's now continue to walk through 6 hours. This is early tomorrow afternoon. Now by tomorrow evening, Hurricane Joaquin starts to accelerate to the north off the coast. The heaviest rainfall is done here in the I-95 corridor come Saturday evening. Still certainly can be some showers. Let's now continue walking through. This is Sunday morning. Hurricane Joaquin well off the Carolina coastline, and then it tends to look ominously closer and closer to the Mid-Atlantic coast and ultimately the New England coastline by Sunday evening. Then let's now jump ahead to Monday morning, and again, this is kind of a westernmost solution of many of the computer forecast models, but last night's GFS still causes some concern up in the New England area as it ultimately clips Cape Cod. So certainly all eyes up and down the East Coast should continue to monitor the situation, especially along New England, but it continues to look like the out-to-sea solution for Joaquin is the most likely scenario here. However, despite the fact that Joaquin looks like it'll stay out to sea, the next 24 to 36 hours will be quite rough in the Mid-Atlantic region, especially along coastal sections with some very heavy rainfall and some strong winds. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.